Welcome to the 67th weekly episode of Marked Out Radio. We are the premier podcast focused on the hobby of collecting autographs and photo ops from celebrities. We talk about autograph conventions, on-the-street encounters, and everything else about this wacky hobby. I'm Sean.
And I'm Dana.
And we are coming off New York Comic-Con weekend, so we're actually recording this Monday morning. This episode is pushing out a little late. But before we talk about all things Comic-Con, other things happened this week. Like, for example, you got a bunch of big names.
Yeah. And of all the things that happened this week, the one thing that didn't happen was me sitting down, me staying home. This is a weird week where multiple things are kind of orbiting at the exact same time. And what it basically boils down to is me running nonstop. So the first big name I was after was Silence of the Lambs star, among other things, Jodie Foster.
So how did Jodie work out? I know she's notoriously a little bit difficult, but usually good for one.
Yeah, she's definitely a little aloof. She was relatively, there weren't a ton of us around, but she was basically good for one each. I think on arrival, we did not catch her on arrival. I believe the guy got her completely one-on-one, and I think she hit 2 for him and did character names without being prompted to do so, which is kind of unprecedented.
Pretty nice.
What was that?
Pretty nice.
Yeah. And when we caught her, and by we, I mean it was my buddy from Long Island, and then we met up with Greg 2600. When we got her, she was strictly one per, and it was told that she was not doing photo ops. So at that point, everyone that listens to this show and knows my level of just deranged collecting preferences should know I'm a photo guy first. So I was a bit deflated upon hearing that. But I had a nice 11 by 14 movie poster image of Silence of the Lambs. I had my little blue deco primed and ready to hit, so I went for the graph. Greg 2600 took the big swing, kept his 8x10 in the folder, told her he had nothing to get signed. Can I get a photo op instead? And she blanked him. She did the nice little head shake, said nope, and went right in after she signed for me and my buddy. And honestly, I don't laugh at him because I know how it feels to fail. But Greg slam dunked the 8x10 into the garbage can and said a word that would get us flagged on here, so I will not repeat it. But it was actually kind of funny. His failure was not funny, but just the way he handled the failure made me laugh. I don't think that actually sounded as nice as I hoped it would, but it was very amusing.
Yeah, the word you're looking for, I believe, is temper tantrum.
Listen, I think temper tantrums have happened on the street. I think there's been graphers doing that probably since Brando. That's what people don't always realize. Yes, celebrities owe us nothing. Yes, we are creepy men standing on dimly lit street corners waiting for them. All of this is true. All of this is just insane. But when you put hours of your life into this, even when you know the stakes, failure sucks. It really does.
Well, I guess, so you consider that outing because you only got the autograph on a movie poster for a movie you haven't seen. Do you consider that a failure or a success?
Probably, unquestionably a failure. The fact that I kind of feel like the fact that I consider it, I'm not even sure what the hell I said. Did I say failure or success?
I don't know. What'd you say? What is it?
I'm rolling on this is how low sleep I'm going on. In my opinion, it is a success. Anytime you get a piece done that I could sell right now for at least $300, that's a decent night spent. But the amount of hours and time and effort I put in, if I knew it was only going to be an autograph, I probably would have psyched myself out and said, oh, I'll just go home and relax before all the other big stuff I have to do.
So you think it was a success. And it's furthermore, there were additional successes on this particular outing.
Yeah, this was an entirely different day. This was probably my biggest shot in the dark of the week. There was an event going on with absolutely no one of interest announced. No one was announced. But given what it was, and I'm being intentionally vague, because if you know the original Marked Out days, that's the way I handle spots and intel and all that stuff. it's not crazy enough that I do what I do occasionally, but the fact that I guard it like nuclear codes is just an extra layer of crazy. In any case, so I go down to this spot, and the person I was hoping to catch was actor Ansel Elgort of Baby Driver, of Divergent, of Fault in Our Stars. I think that's what it's called, that like little teen chick flick. The West Side Story remake. He was really catching fire for a little while, and then he had some scandal came his way with a 17-year-old girl on Instagram from when he was 20, and that I think kind of halted his workload has slowed down a bit after that, and also so has his sort of public appearances.
So how'd it go?
Well, first of all, it went well. That's the short of it. Amusingly, when I get there, I saw a tall gentleman that was obviously him walking up. But since he hasn't really been in the public eye in at least a year, besides a picture here or there, I got in my head and I'm like, am I sure that's him? I didn't want to just rush up to the wrong guy. In this hobby, that's to me at least, the worst thing you can do. I don't feel awkward in life very often, but that is a time where you just sort of want to lift up the nearest manhole cover and just go like Ninja Turtle style and just leave. So I was frantically messaging you like these like creepy like candid shots of this guy. I'm like, is this him? Is this him? You were, I imagine, doing something like a normal human being would be doing after work or at work still. Who the hell knows? And I was messaging Greg. And finally, by the time Greg got back to me, I already figured out it was him. So as I'm waiting for my opportunity to get Ansel, a paparazzi comes up. And I've seen this paparazzi before. Amusingly enough, a guy, my buddy got into a fight with him a few nights earlier. They were fighting back and forth about Trump, where I just stood there silently, because why the hell would I fight with someone on the street corner about politics? And I decided to tip off the paparazzi to Ansel. That was my move. A little bit of a peace offering, since I was not in the middle of that argument at all. And I'm like, hey, just a heads up, Ansel Elgort is here. When I did that, the paparazzi took mercy on me, I guess, and traded me with his info of who was also in the area that night. And it turned out Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones was around.
So I would say sometimes information sharing can prove valuable.
Yeah. And it was funny because he didn't like my friend. So he said to me, he's like, even though I don't like that fat guy you're friends with, I'll let you know what's going on, bro. And I'm like, okay, dude, I appreciate it. And yeah, so I got Ansel. Ansel came over. He was super nice. He actually threw a character name on the 11x14, which, that's not common. On the street, you rarely get the unsolicited character name. Second one I've mentioned this week. First one I actually benefited from. So that was nice. And then the paparazzi and I moved in position to wait for the potential Keith Richards. And I basically told the paparazzi, because he's like, oh, do you have anything to get signed? I'm like, I don't. I said, you get your shots. Because, imagine the paparazzi tells me about Keith Richards and then I'd ruin all his shots. You can't do that. You have to. Some graphers out there would from parts of Europe where you'd have no regard really for the social order of things. And you would just, burn all the bridges. But I said to the guy, I'm like, make sure you get your shots and then I'll do what I got to do. And of course, as he gets out of the car, the paparazzi's like looking at his camera, like messing with settings. So I think I actually ended up going up to him before the paparazzi got his shots because the guy was in dreamland. I shouted over to him. I'm like, yo, he's here. Just to not be a complete ass. And he was walking up with his wife. And I figured I had messaged Greg and I'm like, oh, he's never going to do it. And Greg's like, who knows? He might. And he did. He looked in, he smiled. Very quick about it. He wasn't stopping and I had no chance for life stories, but he did it.
So you walked in with 0 people announced. You wind up with Ansel Elgort and Keith Richards.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing. Like to use like a drug analogy. It's sort of like that's the kind of night that could have you out doing this 7 nights a week. You could spend a lifetime, I think, chasing that kind of high in terms of hobby that kind of just like luck and success and all these different things. I mean, that's something you really can't repeat. I had a hunch on Elgort, and then the way the dominoes started falling, it was absolutely a night for the ages. I will never top this. There's nothing about it that you can replicate. There's nothing I learned from this that I could say that it has made me better. It's just one of those things where the combo gods just shine down on you.
Yeah, rather than smiting you, they decided randomly to smile upon you.
Yeah, I'll take it.
It happens once in a while. If only one could predict the fickle nature of the combo gods, but I guess that's what makes them what they are, the fickleness of the whole thing.
Yes.
So in other news, I should say, that came from Diane Keaton, Oscar winner, has died. There's kind of been almost, I would dare I say, unanimous outpouring of just incredible love for Diane Keaton from pretty much everyone. We fortunately were able to get Diane Keaton at a book signing. What was it, about a year ago, or maybe 2 years ago? 2 years ago.
Might be more than two. It might be more than two. Time really flies.
I was actually looking in typical form. I was looking for that book to try and sell it. I can't find it.
You probably sold it.
I didn't sell it. I would know. I can't find it. Which there's two other places it could be. It's just not. I have three possible places for signed books, and it's not in the one that is like my short-term, most recent stuff. So I don't know. I gotta go digging.
Could it be covered in? Could it be covered in mildew right now?
No, I don't put books in the parents' basements. They'll get destroyed. So no. Have you looked? Is there any value here? Has it gone up at all?
Did not look, because I too don't know where mine is. I have a whole shelf of books. It's probably on there. I have my stack of 6 Arnolds up. I have. It's got to be somewhere on that shelf. But I've barely been home to even look.
So,
would you sell it? I assume you would.
Of course, I would.
It's the only Keaton you have, though.
So what? Her biography, her autobiography. What possible interest would I have in that?
Listen, the day might come where you want to read and you want to learn more about the existence of Diane Keaton.
I could read digitally. I don't need to read that book. So I got to find it. If it's worth selling, if it's $30, it's not worth my time, but we'll see. Let's see. There's some con news. Monster Mania has announced. This is kind of an interesting story, and the more kind of we talked it through and the more we thought about it, the more interesting it got. So Monster Mania, they used to run their own like show consignments where you can get, guests done through the show directly for mail-in fees. And they've announced that they have partnered with an outside partner now for their official they call them their official send-in partner. But the significance of this is that official send-in partner then turned around and established partnerships with other people who've done kind of unofficial send-ins at Monster Mania. And so what this does is it weirdly consolidates the send-in market, but it also kind of, the Monster Mania convention itself just took away a revenue stream. So I'm curious what your thoughts were on this.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting. It was fascinating to see some of the smaller operators seemingly already having deals in place with Mintage and sort of working under them now towards the common goal, I guess, of the official consignment partner. It makes me wonder. I mean, first of all, like you said, Monster Mania pulling this away from themselves tells me it was not worth the effort. They were not making enough. It wasn't worth the headache. If they even were making a decent number, they didn't think it was worth all the liability, all the headache. The other thing that's a bit fascinating, a little bit more beyond, sort of past the surface here, would be, does this bigger company now with the other smaller people feeding into them and sort of pointing all of their current clients in their direction, is this going to truly be a consignment situation, or will their volume be to a level where they are establishing bulk rates with all of these people's agents and getting it done off the show floor, which would be interesting on two levels. That one, the company would be making more money, doesn't help the consumer at all, but it does make it a little bit more interesting of a potential change, I think, in how convention consignments are handled, if this would work out. Second of all, if this bigger company is not doing it on the show floor anymore, all the people that whine and cry about the people getting consignments done at the table, maybe you don't see that anymore, which would leave more time for the 20-minute life stories that are much better than, 15 organized items.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, I don't think we're going to see much of a difference in anything here. I think this is a tiny, tiny, tiny blip on the radar across the board. That's how I view this.
I don't know. I'm not sure because, not to cut you off, I'm sorry to cut you off, but this company sells backstock. That's what they do. Like, this is kind of new for them, more so on a mail-in level. If you parlay your mail order that you have as consignments into sort of working towards, and we know what the threshold is for most of these agents to get a bulk price in place. They fill out what they don't fill in mail order. You fill it in for backstock. And the money you're making on the mail order that is no longer a consignment would pay for your backstock. Well, arguably, I mean, if they're smart about how they operate this, I think there could be a real change in how the entire consignment game is run at this show.
I mean, I don't think these guys are doing that model. I think they're going to do retail plus $15, the same thing as it's always been done. That's what I think is going to. That's it. I don't think they're going to go bulk at all. I think they sell backstock on their privates, but I think these are a whole different animal because they're working through a whole bunch of different agents, a whole bunch of different scenarios. I think they're here to cannibalize whatever consignments there were at this show, and that's really shown by. It's actually shown by the fact that one of the big consigners for this show has already agreed to work for them. I just don't see this as being more than that.
I hear you, but let's say they get 95 send-ins for like a headliner. You don't think they reach out and try to get a price on 100 and make even more money than the usual margin that they had?
Maybe. I just don't think. Look, if Monster Mania, I'm going to be very clear. If Monster Mania themselves were giving up this business, that means they were not getting those numbers. These weren't.
Well, let's be honest. Monster Mania was barely advertising this. I think a company like this, honestly, I bet some of the people we know that did consignments there were probably doing more business than Monster Mania because Monster Mania was barely even acting like this was a thing. They didn't really push this.
I don't know. I don't see. Look, I can't even talk. A lot of the big names will do big consignment numbers, but I mean, a lot of these names at Monster Mania are just not going to be doing consignment numbers like that.
Oh, yeah, it wouldn't work for everybody. But I think there's definitely there would be opportunity there to kind of change how they do it. But again, like it all comes down to what they want out of this.
I think they just want to make a couple extra bucks at the show while getting their own deals pinned down. I think they made the calculation. They're at these shows anyway, where they're doing a one or two meaningful deals. And if you're going to do one or two meaningful deals, you might have to do a couple of the BS deals too.
That's fair.
And that's what we're going to say. But what this does, though, it does crunch the consignment market even more. I mean, these guys have a good reputation, but like anything else, the more clients you take on, the bigger your numbers get, the greater the error margins are. That's just the nature of these things. So we'll see how it works out.
Fear not. There will be brand new consigners coming, charging a mere $5 per item. So
yeah, I mean, I think the standard rate has been $10 for a while, which is still low, and it's not even something I wouldn't work for $10 an item. It's not worth it.
No.
But that's a whole other thing that these guys are willing to do. So we have some reports, although not a ton of reports for this week. Sean and Finn, in their tradition of hitting every wrestling show in the tri-state area, they hit TNA Bound for Glory. It looks like they got a bunch of stuff. They got their event chair signed with the Hardys, the Dudleys. Who was the other guy? I can't remember his name.
I'm blanking, dude. My brain is so fried from this week. Let me check really quick.
He's young. It's a young guy.
They saw Leon Slater.
That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Who is that?
I'll be honest. I only heard of him when I read this report. I have no clue who Leon Slater was, but he seemed very nice. And I have to say that photo they got, like the selfie with the match, like about to take place in the ring. They honestly Sean and Finn, you guys got to start doing that. Like, you have these amazing seats. That is a new level right there of collecting that, like, the average person's not getting a chance to have. Like, you have a photo op with the match, basically. I don't know if Class 316 would call that a valid photo op, but I'm saying it's a valid photo op. That is insane. Like, imagine having that selfie with, like, Rock and Hogan in the ring. Like, that is like from like big matches. That's insane.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, it's another way to memorialize a match if you want to get that. I guess they have so many great pictures. Like, at what point, how many do you need? But they continue to get awesome event pictures like that. What else we got? The Little Rat, Zach Linder. He got his consignments back from Houston. He got the Honky Tonk Man back. I guess that Coliseum collection figure. I mean, I don't really have anything else to say about it. I kind of wrote Honky Tonk Man off last time I saw him, basically just fleecing fans with his pricing. But I mean, if you have a collection to get done, you do what it takes, right?
Yeah. Well, first of all, those Coliseum collections are so awesome looking. I constantly fight the urge of starting them because I really don't need to start anything else. And honestly, my preferences of what figures I'm collecting and getting signed fluctuate monthly. So I don't really want to. I'm currently more in a space of like, let's purge some of the lines I was collecting and let's try to, focus more on the stuff that I really like. But those are beautiful. I like any of this stuff that really just looks retro.
So let's see. What else do we got? Vinny is continuing to get that shirtless shortstops photo done. He got A-Rod. He mailed it away to Jeter most recently. So, and there was a lot of, I don't know why there was like any doubt. Can you explain? Because you were a doubt. Why would you doubt that he would sign it?
I would think Jeter would be completely mortified and embarrassed that he ever took that photo because it's kind of objectively absurd. I mean, you don't see a shirtless Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig. You don't see Joe Montana and Jerry Rice is hanging out shirtless together. It's a little weird a little bit of a weird photo. I would have thought that would have been Jeter's like biggest regret in his lifetime.
But he's very much a pin me, pay me kind of guy. He'll sign whatever's put in front of him. That's I don't know. There's a lot of weirdness, I think, around like, will they sign it? Will they say 99% of the time people sign whatever you stick in front of their face. That's why it's, I think, significant when people refuse to sign things because it's rare. And it would never occur to me that wouldn't have happened. I just assumed.
Well, I was completely wrong. Vinny like thrives on proving people wrong, so I'm happy to help him fuel his way to getting this thing completed. This is not a challenge because I don't want him to go do this as like a challenge then to like prove something. But I certainly hope he's not going to just drop these in like top loaders and mail them off to like a through the mail address on Renteria or Gonzalez. Like, with the time and money he's invested now, I think, me personally, unless it was like a really organized mail-in opportunity, I would not. I don't think you could gamble on a TTM with these levels of investment.
And if you dropped, a lot of money in, there's always a limit to what you're.
I'd personally rather not have it complete than risk like sending it to someone's PO box and hope I get it back. But
there's a big difference between a mail away signing, I think, that's official, and just a mailbox. Sending it to a mailbox is unhinged.
I think that would be the only way to get these guys. I don't know if these guys are maybe in like St. Louis, Renteria is doing stuff. I don't know, but these guys are not out here very often or ever. I've never seen them. So getting it complete is going to be challenging. I just hope he doesn't take too big of a risk to get it done. Me personally, I'd rather have it incomplete and in my possession than go take some crazy like through the mail risk.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. And then finally, Greg 2600 got Lionel Richie. Lionel Richie's always great in public, and this was no exception. He took care of him.
Yeah, great shot. Honestly, a perfect shot with a guy, as we talked about last week, who just sort of transcended levels of fame in a way that not everyone does. And that's definitely a shot you want in your collection. So well done.
We had another Wicked Ink Wednesday. Some good stuff was posted. Wicked Ink Wednesday continues to do very well in terms of the engagement that it brings in. lots and lots of posts. So we got a couple of things. Mike Aring posted an autograph that he got with Eddie Vedder. God, I can't talk. These Comic-Con weekends really kick your ass, don't they?
Yeah, especially when you have Comic-Con and then a whole separate week going on at the same week.
That's a whole. Maybe that's I mean, you just went to another level of nuttiness, but even just going to Comic-Con all day every day, it's a lot. Sorry. Anyway, Mike Aring posted a shot that he got signed by Eddie Vedder. It's great. I know Eddie Vedder can be tricky. Sometimes he's very giving, and other times he's not. But it was a good shot. Richard posted a really cool album of Kool and the Gang. Really nice looking album there. And then Sean, not to be outdone, he posted his ring-worn Hollywood Hogan boots. Did you see those things?
Insane. That's the reality. Like, that's what sort of makes me sleep better at night. If you can't get into the ring-worn game and do it to the level Sean's doing it, and collectors like him that have just like the coolest stuff you could think of, you really shouldn't bother doing it. I have a ring-worn Matt Cardona knee pad in a bin somewhere in the office, and I have PCO's gloves. Like, that was my attempt at ring-worn. Like, if you're going to attempt it on my level, please, in my humble opinion, don't bother. That is insane. That is absolutely insane. Hogan's ring-worn boots. Just, yeah. Everything posted, everything you mentioned this week was crazy, but I popped for the Hogan boots the most.
Is it weird that part of me is like, well, it's from that 99, 2000 era, which is like Hulk's worst era, and I want to see something from either like peak Hollywood, which was 97 or 96, 97, or like, I don't know. I get crazy with this stuff. Kind of like I have the Hogan wristband, but it's from like 94 WCW, which is like, meh. I don't know.
Speaking of, and I'm going to say this on the air, you should actually have a chat with Sean about the wristband. If you're interested in moving it, he might be the guy to run it by.
I see what he's paying for the things that he's buying. I'm not sure. He'd probably be looking for more of a bargain than I'd be willing to part for, I think. I'm not sure I'm willing to let it go for what they go for, I guess, is my thing. I don't know.
So what you mean is it's not really on the market unless someone was going to overpay you, which I can respect.
What is overpay? I mean, the thing is they don't come up for sale that often, but I also know that a Hogan WCW wristband, is probably like, you could probably find it if you were shopping around for between 1,500 and 2, but I think I would want 3.
That's what I'm saying. You would want more than the market value of what comparable pieces have sold for, which I can understand.
It's very hard to find comparable pieces. That's the truth. Because I was looking. I really went looking. I couldn't find comparable pieces. So, but yeah, I think I would want 3.
That's a hell of a sales pitch, Sean. If you want what I got and you're willing to overpay, come talk to me.
I mean, again, try and find another one is the thing, All
right. So
it's I don't know. I'm still kind of feeling my way around that one,
This not to bring up old things here, but this really shows your love for Hulk Hogan, because you would have sold 50 things by now and you've sold nothing.
Yeah, I took a little bit of a break from listing stuff. I started aggressively a few months ago, and I sold through a lot. And then but the problem is to list stuff. It's just, as you know, it just takes a while. You got to take the good pictures, and it's a whole thing. And once you get into a rhythm, it's like you want to list 100 at a time, right? Because otherwise it just takes so long. So I really have to go about listing more stuff. But yeah, I haven't listed any Hulk stuff. I never did. And I probably should, but I don't even know what I would sell, to be honest. So anyway, yeah, that's a fun diversion from that. And honestly, part of the reason I'm a little bit flustered right now is we've talked a little bit about the fact that we have a Reese Witherspoon event tonight. What we haven't mentioned, because there's no way for us to mention it yet, is that we have meet and greets for this Reese Witherspoon event tonight, and the event has still not emailed us. It's now 10:30 a.m., day of show, and they still haven't emailed us about this meet and greet. Can you explain why this is so extraordinarily frustrating?
Well, I think extra frustrating for you because you've been living on a prayer here now since we bought this ticket that it was going to happen pre-show. And I mean, if it happens pre-show with them not telling us in advance to show up early to do it, I mean, that would be catastrophically bad and mishandled. So I think it's pretty much a slam dunk, much like the Jodie Foster 8x10 into the trash can, that it's going to be post-show, which I'll be honest, I'm feeling almost as negative as you right now, because after the week I had and work tomorrow morning, I really don't want to be on a train at 10 or 11 o'clock tonight. But I bought the ticket. I made the choice. Don't feel sorry for me. That's what I chose to do. And honestly, even if I didn't have the ticket right now, I'd probably make the same choice because, you know, the combo gods need to be celebrated. And here we go. This is a big name I don't have. But it's really crazy. I've never done a meet and greet that they don't give you the information in advance. I actually responded to they sent like a general email that every ticket holder received saying, oh, the show starts at 7, doors open at 6. And I responded back asking for meet and greet instructions. And that was a stock email they sent. I got a stock response back about business hours that I'm sure are not in effect today on Columbus Day. And yeah, we're going to probably go into that blind tonight and just see what the hell's happening.
Yeah, I've never experienced this. I've done my fair share of meet and greets. They always send you an email, and it's usually 24 to 48 hours in advance with specific instructions. We're really, really down to the wire here with nothing, and it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating because our meet and greet is not only a meet and greet, we're also entitled to a signed book. And there's just no distribution instructions. And look, at the end of the day, we'll figure it out. But I also know that when you're in these kind of environments and there's uncertainty, it messes up the whole thing. People get crazy. People try and like just be disruptive to try and, you know, get something extra. It becomes a whole ordeal. And so I'm really not happy with her team with this because usually these meet and greets. I know it's done through Barnes and Noble, but I mean she has a team as well. And you had speculated yesterday. You were wondering if maybe it had something to do with the weather. They were still trying to like hammer out the exact details. If that's the case, I mean, you know, we're gonna have to take a train in a couple of hours. They have to get their ducks in a row here.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to cancel this, I would be okay with that. But you got to let us know. And I'm not holding my breath that happens. What I think it's going to be, I think we're going to walk in. There's going to be a table for like VIP check-in. They will hand you the signed book at that point. They will tell you to remain seated after the event for the meet and greet. And I think that'll be it. Like it's going to probably be that simple. And there's not going to really be much need for like preparation because that's, you know, anyone could do it. But it's still kind of wild that that's not in writing. Because, I mean, a lot of these meet and greets are that simple. And you always get something, if not in an email, in the description of the meet and greet package on purchase. Like, something. And now I have the fear that somehow we just didn't get the news, even though the fact that there's 3 of us counting Ira, that can't be. But, like, now I keep thinking, what if it's, like, 5:30 and we just don't know it? But that can't be.
Well, then no one's going to show up.
Yeah.
So it's just poor planning. As a general rule, I hate poor planning, and this is one of those situations. Another news, Fanatics Fest announced that its July show will now be 4 days. It's coinciding with, what is it coinciding with? The World Cup?
I think so.
Some kind of major other sporting event. And so what that's doing is, a 4-day Fanatics Fest just creates more, I hate to say it, more of a headache. This year I spent an extraordinary amount of Fanatics Fest. I don't see how they can replicate that. I suspect it's going to be more of the same names-wise. And so I think largely we're going to avoid big money. That's my prediction for this one.
I don't know. Well, first of all, here it is, my biannual complaint. This sucks. Now there's 2 days during my summer work week that if I miss work to do, it's going to cost me a lot of money. So I'm not happy. I used to only have to sort of flinch and just hold my breath for 1 day. Now there's 2. WWE-wise, they could absolutely get me. They could get, Sokoa. They could get Braun. They could get the different, people I don't have. Sports-wise, they could get some of the Knicks I need, like OG and Josh Hart. and names like that. I mean, Kevin Costner, I don't know if SWAU is going to be involved on any level, but I mean, Costner kind of shows that anything is possible. And I mean, just general athletes. I mean, there's a lot of big name athletes from the past that I would be interested in meeting under the right circumstances. So I'm not ready to say my big spending will be gone, because I think with less wrestling and less celebrity, maybe I would say, screw it. I'll get X, Y, and Z baseball or basketball players and do that. But I mean, am I going to miss work to meet, Hakeem Olajuwon, for example? And instead of paying $200 for the op, I pay $600 when I count the money I lost for missing work with everything, the bonus and all that? No. So I don't know. I'm a little nervous about this.
Yeah, it is a tough one, and the week after Fanatics, I know I have a week away. So yeah, not that matters for this, but yeah, it's one of those things where to go in for that whole weekend and then I have to go away the next week. That's an ordeal a little bit. Big event, New York. That's the show where we'll be vendors at. They've canceled Bret Hart. To be fair, they didn't really cancel him. Bret sent out a press release yesterday canceling all of his appearances for the rest of the year. So not exactly sure what's going on there, but best to Bret. And, Bret's always been great when he comes around. Chill Out Con has added, they added Danica McKellar, who's a phenomenal name. They also added wrestlers Lex Luger and Kane. But, Danica's great. It just makes me sad that we never got, the full Danica Fred Savage reunion tour. That would have been amazing. But Fred Savage did one con and then noped out of the rest. So we never got to see his full. It's one of those things you can never really predict who will be, a con regular and who won't.
I'll tell you what you can predict. Anyone with the last name Savage, kayfabe or otherwise, is just allergic to cons. All these damn Savages. Fred, Ben, and Randy. I mean, they've been haunting collectors now for decades.
Yeah, that's true. Although I don't know. I still feel in some way that if Randy were alive, they would have got him by now. They would have brought him over to do cons.
I agree. Point. He would have probably been the most easily accessible Savage, which is saying something.
Well, apparently Fred is. If you catch Fred, he's quite nice. Someone actually posted on the not that long ago. They went to Fred was doing some kind of project and they got him to sign a bunch and take photos and stuff. So I just saw that posted somewhere. I'm not sure if it was on our group or a different one, but just within the past week or so. So Fred is definitely gettable if the circumstances, if the stars align, basically. But I would love someone to bring out Fred Savage. The Wonder Years is one of my favorite shows. And Chiller had that whole reunion without him. It was just brutal. It was brutal to bear witness to.
If Chill Out could do one day the full Wonder Years with Fred, that would be a pretty big coup over Chiller.
That would be extraordinary. That's the word I would use. It would be extraordinary because Fred Savage is a very, very, very important name for that time period. Anyway, what else do we have in here? Steel City. Speaking of important names, Steel City adds Bruce Dickinson. Again, one of those names that if you said, oh yeah, Bruce Dickinson will be doing a con run, I'd be like, what? But here he is doing a con run.
Yeah. No Temptation for me. His music is not for me. I've done a little deep dive on his stuff. That's a little too out there for my tastes, but unquestionably a big name. Steel City is loaded. Absolutely loaded. Since it's a December show, I'm just appreciative that there's really no one that I'm dying to meet personally, because I don't want to make that trip. But this is probably one of the objectively better Steel Cities in the last 4 or 5. Is that a fair statement?
Oh, it's a great show. It's a great show. It's just, to commit to Pittsburgh in December, to commit to that level of travel, there needs to be something extraordinary to draw you in. That's how I feel.
Which, honestly, I think Bruce, for the right type of person, is that person. Like, if we were fans of that genre of music in, like, a real way, I don't think you would really count on him making many more. He's doing this handful, and that might be it. If I was a betting man, that probably would be where I'd throw my money. So,
you're not tempted on Bruce Dickinson for historical significance?
If he was at a show out here, I suppose I probably would, just as a historical get. But I'm not tempted to make a trip for that. That's just too insane.
That's fair, because I'm also in the same boat. Although it's kind of like the Gene Simmons situation where now he's here and I'm like, nah, do I really want to spend that money? So here we are. A show we are going to, Rhode Island, just announced a whole bunch of cancellations. Alec Baldwin, Colby Minifie, Henry Winkler, Jamie Campbell Bower, Kevin Smith. There were a bunch of others too. Not great, but I mean, but right now the lineup is so huge at Rhode Island, something was bound to give.
Yeah. A lot lost there. Kevin Smith, honestly, impacts me not at all, but they put together that little like reunion, and you lose Kevin Smith. I mean, from a Kevin Smith reunion, that sucks. That's the fear and the danger of a lot of these reunions. We saw that in Steel City with Charlie Hunnam. You end up with these sort of like weird mutated reunions that it's a sort of disappointing. Baldwin, this was probably the show I was chewing on getting an autograph, because you can sort of navigate the lines a little quicker there, depending on how you play it. Chill out with so much I have to do and all the money I'm spending that weekend. I probably won't. I'll probably punt on my Beetlejuice vinyl. I don't know. But that's a lot of big cancellations. You never want to see that. But the show is so stacked. I'm still, the more I keep thinking, I really have to make cuts.
No, it's there's a lot. The guest list is gigantic. There's no other way to say. And so we also had Photo with Friday again, as we always do. And there were some interesting ones, some cool ones. Andrew had a shot with Judd Apatow. It's my understanding Judd's pretty cool, but I mean, you don't see him that often. At least I haven't seen that many shots with him. But it was pretty cool. Then Jonathan posted a shot that he met Finn Jones from Iron Fist randomly at a bar in New York City. Kind of love a random encounter. And then Scott posted his box cutter to the throat shot. It was a pretty standard one for a while there from Giancarlo Esposito. Good stuff. A Photo with Friday. We got to do, like, at some point, maybe an assembly or a collection of random encounters. I think those would be fun, you know?
Yeah.
Getting people to kind of catalog their random encounters and put something in that way. So if you're shopping for autographs, please check out www.markedoutcollectibles.com or our eBay store at Marked Out Collectibles. To contact either one of us or both of us or whatever for any reason at all, email markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com or join the Marked Out autograph collecting community on Facebook. And all links are in the show notes on Facebook and Substack. And if you want your event, product, or brand advertised on episodes of Marked Out Radio, reach out to us today at markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com. If you like what you're hearing or you absolutely hate it or anything in between, please subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcast and leave a rating and or review. You can leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. You can leave a rating on Spotify, or you can leave a thumbs up, thumbs down, or a comment on YouTube, and all of that is much appreciated. So that brings us to New York Comic Con was this weekend. Now we promised a full report. So,
yes.
So
we're not coming alone. We have a bunch of reports as well from our listeners.
Yeah, so I mean, we kind of follow a similar, I'm not going to say the same exact schedule. We followed similar schedules. So I was in Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, as were you, but our paths didn't cross a ton. I guess on Thursday they did, but on Saturday and Sunday they did not.
Yeah, Sunday I just laughed at you from afar, looking miserable. Saturday I didn't lay eyes on you at all.
Well, let's get to the big story, I think. The big story is the Nicholas Hoult cancellation, an 11th hour cancellation. And look, 11th hour cancellations happen all the time. But the most significant one here, or the most significant thing about this here, was that Leap, again, this is the difference between Leap handling Epic Photo Ops versus when Epic Photo Ops was its own entity. So Leap sends this incredible email out about Nicholas Hoult canceling, and how basically if you wanted a refund, you had to wait until October 14th, which is, by the way, not even happened yet. And if you want, you could exchange the value of his photo op for a different one, but it had to be for something of equal or greater value, or else you'd lose the difference. And somehow they didn't even try to justify this. They just stated that was the way it goes. And to me, that is mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's a crazy abuse of power from a company that we as consumers sort of trust with our money weeks and months in advance. Obviously, at the end of the day, they would have given you the refund. But I mean, you sort of have people over a barrel in a lot of cases because you're talking about October 14th. That is tomorrow. For certain people, I mean, let's imagine this was like a debit purchase. People, as we've talked about ad nauseum, are broke and still spending high amounts of money on luxury goods. For some people, you need that money back to be able to sort of pivot and make your next purchase. And then that's where it comes in. That, oh, well, you can exchange it. But if you want something that's a little bit less, you got to just sort of lose the difference. And I'm sure a lot of people did that, either ignorantly that they didn't read all the way through and just assumed they'd get the remaining balance back, or they were just completely boxed in a corner there and they couldn't do it, and they couldn't buy what they needed to buy as a replacement any other way. It's completely shady. What did you end up doing? I assume you're still waiting for your refund?
Yeah, what else am I going to do? I certainly was not going to do that, exchange it for something else and make sure it's exactly the same price. I mean, it's actually loopy you know what the funny thing was? There was a dude I was next to in line who had done that. He had basically exchanged it for something else that was a little bit cheaper and just ate the difference. It's really criminal, in my opinion. That and it shows you Leap is a horrible company. They just suck in so many ways. I really wish we could avoid them, but there's no way to avoid them.
No. I was in a unique situation where I still needed a chickless photo op, but I still needed my, Linklater autograph. So I kind of just rolled it over. What
do you mean? You applied the balance and then bought those two?
I had like a $20 difference. So that worked out on that level. But I mean, if I didn't need that, if I didn't have two things I had just procrastinated on buying, I would have waited for the refund because that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I honestly, you people really, 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 really need to not. I don't even know. I don't know. I really don't even know what the answer to this is. A company like this, they're starting to become monopolistic in the industry at this point. Everyone is using them. You can't escape them. The fees are very high. One of the things I wanted to talk about were how the fees for photo ops have increased dramatically as well. So, for example, last week I talked about one of my on the bubble names was Deborah Ann Wool, right? And I checked, and her photo op cost was over $100 plus tax. Okay, I paid $50 cash at the table. $50 cash at the table versus over $100 plus tax, which means that who's getting the difference in that? I know NYCC takes a cut, but the bulk of that goes to Leap, and so it's just an absolute ripoff.
Well, we don't know for sure. She may have negotiated. She's probably seeing more than $50. I don't think her and her team would allow that much money to not enter her hand. I mean, a lot of the other people's table ops and pro ops were not that much of a difference. I think that may have just been her philosophy at the table to sort of drive up more sales.
I guess. I don't know.
Also, how they get you on this monopoly, and this is something we were all discussing, it feels like every single show, the talent spends less and less time at the autograph table. So, I mean, chasing that $50 op is not always conducive. Like, you wanted Chickless, who was not quite as big of a difference in savings, but was also up there. It was a pretty significant difference. You never managed to find a chance to get him due to how limited he was at that table. Granted, for you didn't really care, but I mean, like for me, Chickless being my top one, if I would have passed on the pro op, what am I doing? Am I there until 6:30 waiting to get him? Am I, what am I doing? So it's there's savings to be had avoiding Leap Epic, but avoiding Leap Epic is a lot easier said than done.
It is. I mean, so one of the things we noticed that we get there on Thursday, and we did our initial photo op in the morning, and then we're walking around the autograph room, and it was about, I would say, noon. I think we were there, and we're walking around the autograph room, and no one was at their table signing. Not some. No one, not a single name was at their table signing. And then so it's like, what exactly is going on right now? And that's not true. the K-pop Demon Hunter girl was at her table signing. That was it, right? So, but there were probably 30 different autograph tables that were just empty, not a single soul to be seen there. And we're looking around, like, how can you make any money if you're not at the table signing? And that's honestly a big contributor to the gigantic lines at this show. The fact that there's no one working. There's no one working. I imagine they've all been signed to these limited windows. And I suspect this is done largely to funnel fees through Leap. And these people are not working. They're just sitting there. It's a remarkable sight to behold.
Yeah. And I had the one autograph, which I'll get to on my Sunday portion of the report. But seeing what I saw Thursday, that makes me a lot less likely to get autographs going forward, because you fall into these stupid little time slots. And God forbid you have a pro op during that slot. And I mean, you're screwed. What do you do?
Yeah, it's just not a good scene. So anyway, Thursday we get in there, and I believe we started out, was Urban first or was Sheen first?
Urban was first.
Yeah. So Urban was fine. He gives you a good day. I think you got the forced fist bump from Urban, right?
I did.
So he kind of looked weird. He looked non-Billy Butcher like without his beard. Which is, I'm a fan of his from The Boys, so seeing him without that was a little bit unusual, but everyone's entitled to live their life how they want.
I was mainly getting him for Star Trek, where he's clean shaven in that, so I was fine with it.
And then after that, we both had Martin Sheen, who was tremendous. You could see Martin Sheen's a talker, and he definitely wanted to talk. And they were rushing people through the photo ops as they always do, and you could see he was just not. He was not quite accustomed to how that worked.
Yeah, I honestly can't believe he started at this age just doing these cons. He seems to really have a blast with them. Like for the photo op, he was telling us, "Oh, get closer." Like not repulsed by the paying masses in any way. Like, there's truly a great guy by my brief encounter. 85 years old. I mean, you don't see many guys that age that start doing cons, like, in that general window of your mid 80s. But, very happy he did.
Yeah, I think he's one of those old school people, genuinely.
For sure. Yeah. Then, you were not a part of this, but Lanza and I finally checked Michael Chiklis off of our list. And I saw him at the autograph table earlier in the day, laughing at a smile on his face. He was one that was barely at the table. Like, I thought for a split second, like, weeks ago, like, oh, I should start a project with the Shield. And then I decided I would just buy one aftermarket whenever I'm ready to do so and just avoid the thing. And I'm glad I did, because he was there, like, right at opening, and then he was gone and didn't come back until, like, 4 or 5 o'clock. Like, absurd. The amounts of time that they take off. But he seemed pleasant during the photo op. He was very nice. Great to finally knock him off the list.
And after that was a Shang-Chi actor, Simu Liu, who was great. It's funny, I wore my Kids in the Hall t-shirt to the con on Thursday. Totally forgot that he's Canadian. And so he saw my shirt and lit up. And was like, Are you Canadian? And I was just like, no, I just really like Kids in the Hall. So it was kind of amusing. I just didn't, it's one of those things where I think, Canadians have those subtle codes to each other. And I kind of took it.
So I guess that, along with holding a grudge against Bill Goldberg for decades, I guess those are the two main tells you're Canadian.
Yeah, basically, pretty much. Did you get anything else on Thursday?
Secondhand, I had a private scheduled with Jake the Snake Roberts through Mitch of Hastel Toys, Grapplers, and Gimmicks. I don't have much really for Jake at this point. I really don't. Last time I did Jake, I think I dropped like 50 pieces, and I'm pretty much good on Jake. But I did have a Hasbro, as I'm sure the loyal listeners could have guessed, and I also I got Sting on the metallic 11x14 Havoc poster print. And the metallic one, I have a matte one. This is how you know I'm deranged. I have a matte one already completed by both. but the metallic one looks so crisp, and I got the Sting one for my PC just for the hell of it. So I'm like, screw it. I'll get Jake on the metallic one as well, and then I'll sell the completed matte one. I mean, who wouldn't do that? So yeah, it was great, and Jake, honestly, thanks to Brian and C-Rat for being the hands over there on that deal. So that was very nice. But Jake is a rare case where legitimately I think the older and cleaner and better his life gets, the better his autograph gets. Like if I fish out the autographs that you and I got when we were in that whatever the hell it was, Santa Mauritius, whatever East End town we were in, when he was shirtless and messed up with Balls Mahoney near him. Those graphs.
That was Ronkonkoma, I think.
Was it?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it was.
Pretty sure. But whatever.
In any case, those graphs compared to what he gave out this weekend were night and day. So he's really. It's nice to see Jake living a good life. He was taking Central Park carriage rides with his on again, off again wife. Like he's living a life that like Scott Hall never really got clean enough to have. So that was cool. But that was also the end for me on Thursday.
And then, we both made the executive decision to skip on Friday. I had originally wanted to go in on Friday. You were always going to skip on Friday, right?
Yeah, I mean, missing the day before a long weekend is just a thing. It requires effort, and it's not really it's frowned upon, especially when I'm newer than you are where I'm at. So I try not to do that. So I went to work like a great employee.
And I just honestly, there was just not a lot that I needed on Friday.
Yeah, I mean, if they had like a Costner level like Friday only, I may have had to figure out a way, but I didn't. So it's always nice when sort of, again, the combo gods smile on you.
And so, yeah, I mean, it was just, I originally had Sigourney booked for Friday and just punted over to Saturday because I figured I'd get everything done on Saturday. And so that's what I did. So we had completely different paths on Saturday. I came in and got all my main people on Saturday. You were only there for Redman. So I guess you do yours first and I'll do mine.
Yeah. Redman's the kind of thing that I almost 9 times out of 10 in the 11th hour would have said I'm not going. You probably were kind of expecting that would normally be my MO. I'm going, I'm not going. I went. I did it. I got in there. He was appearing at a booth from 12:30 to 2. At the Vault Comics booth that had Post Malone the day before. I guess that was probably the one miss for Friday on my end. But I mean, honestly, if I was going to come in Friday for Post, I would have hit the hotel and not that mosh pit. People at the hotel got like beautiful pose shots, and in there it was like, you have 47 heads in the background of your photo. But so Redman, I woke up to the booth. I got there around 11, figuring, an hour or so early would be sufficient. And the guy at the booth goes, Red should be here sometime between 12 and 3. So I go,
I'd love to hear that.
Yeah. So I'm like, I guess that 12:30 to 2 thing is out the window. And he's like, basically, we're at the mercy of his team, and they haven't been super responsive today. So he's like, I know he's coming. I don't know when he's coming. So I'm like, all right. The guy confirmed photos. He confirmed extra items. $30 book was required as purchase. I bought the book. I did say to him, if this dude never shows up, I'm getting my money back on this, right? And he's like, yeah, but he's definitely coming. So I'm like, all right. I bought the book, went on the line. At that point, the line was about 5 deep. And I would say within 15 minutes of being there, the line was 50 deep. So I showed up at the right time. Shockingly, a little after 12, it was around 12:15, Redman was there. So this is the first time, I think, in the history of humanity where a rapper has been early. That does not happen, ever. So Redman was early. The line started moving. Surprisingly, or not surprisingly, a lot of the fans didn't buy the books in advance. Like, they were, like, doing sales on the line with an iPad, which kind of slowed it up a little bit. But I mean, Red was a chatter. Red didn't really care. He was taking his time. I'm not sure if the entire line got through. I would imagine it did. But I got my poster signed. He was cool. Op was great. At one point, I actually forgot to take my metas off, humorously. And I kind of was like, I don't even know if what I was saying was English, but I was like, to the guy taking the picture, I'm like, and he just sort of understood what I was saying. And he, as I pulled the glasses off, he snapped another. Because that would have bugged me, having the glasses on for the op. And after that, I got the hell out of Dodge. I was in my house, I think, by 3 p.m., which was really nice.
So, my day was quite a bit longer on Saturday. I went in there and my plan was, okay, so to full context, I always print out my tickets, and let me tell you, thank God that I did, because upon printing out my tickets, I'm looking and I'm like, why do I have 2 Lawrence Fishburne photo ops? And I looked at them, I couldn't figure out why, and I realized one of them was an autograph. I must have bought the autograph and forgot that I had it in my cart, which really could only happen in this ridiculous context. But yeah, so I had pre-purchased a Lawrence Fishburne autograph. So now what I had to do was go dig out my Nightmare on Elm Street 3 poster, and then it became a whole ordeal because that changed up my plan for Saturday. So what I did was I jumped on the Fishburne line, his autograph line first, and I heard that he was coming out at 11. And I had a Simon Pegg photo op shortly after that. So Fishburne came out, and they were cranking, man. The line was cranking. He was behind a curtain, which is kind of amusing. But anyway, the Fishburne line went. I got him to sign my Nightmare on Elm Street 3 poster. He was very nice. He popped for the poster, actually. He hadn't seen it. I guess he hadn't done too many. I mean, keep in mind, that was his first day there, and he hadn't done many autographs before me, but he hadn't done any Nightmare 3 items to that point, which is cool. Took care of that with a silver deco. He would not do any quotes or anything like that. His team was, it's obvious he's new to con. He's new to cons. His team was very squirrely. He was very chill, but his team was squirrely, which is fine. When I finished with that, I ran over and jumped in and got Simon Pegg, who was overly nice as always in the photo ops. Then I also got James McAvoy. And then it was right into, they had scheduled Annie Potts and Sigourney Weaver at the same time, but I guess Sigourney had way more, she must have had group ops with other people, because Annie Potts finished and they were like, anyone with Annie Potts, get out of the Weaver line and go do Annie Potts first. All right, whatever. So I went and did Annie Potts, then immediately got in the line for Weaver. I did Weaver, and then I jumped out of there and did Elliot Page. It was like boom, 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 one after the next, and then finished up Saturday with my Lawrence Fishburne photo op, and that was it for Saturday. I spent the entire show in the basement in the photo op section. I really didn't move, aside from the very beginning when I was getting Fishburne's autograph.
Yeah, and my Sunday was very, very similar to your Saturday, so I will sort of run through my, not much different from what you said. Simon Pegg was overly nice. McAvoy was overly nice with the handshakes on the greeting. He shook our hands on the exit. He was super nice. Fishburne, for being such a miserable guy on the street, I mean, it goes to show, you meet someone in these quote-unquote right way, you get a very different encounter. He wasn't warm and fuzzy, but I mean, he was very nice. He didn't seem disgusted by the people. I got much better vibes from him as far as his comfort level than I did, say, Kevin Costner. I think Fishburne might actually sort of work this into his routine a little bit, these cons, because he doesn't seem to hate it, and I imagine he's happy with the payout.
Payout was big.
Yeah. I'm trying to see if there's anyone else I got that you didn't yesterday. Yeah, Paige was very nice. We got Deborah Ann Woll. She was very nice. Bryce Dallas Howard was very nice, which you got her, didn't you, or no?
Nope.
You didn't?
Nope.
Wow.
She hasn't been anything I like, so.
That's fair. But yeah, she was very nice. Everyone was very nice. There was absolutely not a single lemon in the bunch. And I also got an autograph, the only autograph I got from Hamish Linklater, from a lot of things. But for me, most memorable would be the Midnight Mass, that Netflix sort of horror show that was a lot of fun. And I know a lot of the people from that show do cons. So I figured, what the hell, start that with him. His line was small. The thing that was kind of funny was his staff were running it as if it was the Mel Gibson line from Fan Expo. I'll take your item. I'll take your pen. I'll put it in front of him. Like there's 7 people behind me in line. Like, why are we running it on such a level of efficiency? But didn't matter. Not a big deal. It was just kind of funny. With a line of 7 people, I think we're able to hand our own item to the talent ourselves. But I digress. Hamish was a flat rate for anything, which I guess helps because he doesn't really have anything to sign. But he was, quotes, character name, I got it for free. Like, you don't see many people like that anymore. So that's always refreshing.
Yeah. Overall, the photo op area, at least on Saturday, was pretty much the same as it always is. It didn't seem particularly more crowded, less crowded. It just seemed kind of the same. I did notice on Sunday, because I did go in Sunday, because I hadn't had a chance to walk the show floor at all. So my goal on Sunday was to walk the show floor. The show floor was extremely crowded on Sunday. Oh, the artist alley, the top show floor, extremely, extremely crowded. Nothing ever changes. So I was in Sunday for Brendan Fraser. He was very, very nice. And then I just got in and out with that. And then I spent the whole day on the show floor. And that's pretty much it for my Sunday.
Yeah. Takeaway from your Sunday, I got Fraser the last time, so I was not a part of this. But this dude took pro ops for like hours.
Well, so did James McAvoy. McAvoy on Saturday was hours and hours and hours on photo ops.
That Oscar win, I guess, really plus all the stuff he did before that people love. I mean, Brendan Fraser, you want to talk about con headlining, like A-list con names? Brendan Fraser is a headliner. Holy crap. James McAvoy, like you said, hours and hours of photo ops. That dude is a headliner. And much like Vinny's shirtless photo, I got to eat a little bit more crow. I think you got to eat some with me. Charlie Cox was doing numbers.
Charlie Cox did insane numbers the whole weekend. I'm not sure why. I still don't really understand why, but you know what? Whatever, people like what they like. God bless.
I guess meeting Mr. Hell's Kitchen in Hell's Kitchen. I mean, that probably was a little bit. I imagine he's bigger and more popular in NYC. That might be part of it, the character. I don't know. I'm curious to see how he does up in Rhode Island.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll do well. I really do.
Okay, and then we had some reports. C-Rat made his first ever NYCC appearance on Thursday. He hit, obviously he was at the Hastel booth with the Jake the Snake signing with Brian, so he did that. And he also made his way over to the Major Bendy booth and picked up some of the con exclusive 1 of 500 Brian Myers Big Rubber guys. And everything turned out sick. He reported that he had a great time. And it sounds like he might be interested in coming again. And I mean, listen, if a first-time experience at that con, if you're it could go one of 2 ways, rather easily, because I mean it's pandemonium.
Yeah, if you it's weird because I mean I've been going to this con for forever, so my perception is now what it's like now. But I can't even imagine what it's like seeing this con through fresh eyes. It's actually very exciting to see someone's report of this con through fresh eyes.
Agreed. And then Greg 2600, not just meeting Lionel Richie this week. He was at NYCC, and he finally got the bleeding monkey off his back of John Moxley. He has somehow been chasing Moxley for years. He never gets Moxley. It's kind of fascinating how that is in this hobby, how that certain people elude you. But at the AEW panel, he was able to get John Moxley and Tony Khan. I'm not sure if he ever had Tony Khan. I don't think he did. So if you are an AEW collector, those are 2 pretty damn essential ones. He also got Larry Fishburne, which, I mean, I think most of the hobby did. That was probably no matter how seasoned of a street grapher you are, that is a guy you probably needed. And he hit Ronda Rousey at one of her many appearances. He did the one at Midtown Comics. And I forgot to mention on Saturday, I was her booth was right across from my Redman line. So I watched her with the fans, and yeah, she seems to be, she's always good with the fans. And it seemed like all of these appearances, everyone seemed pretty happy. I know she did wrestling merch at some of them. I think I saw her reject someone here on Saturday, but people got some stuff done. She was pretty damn fan friendly this weekend.
That's good for her because she's a tricky one sometimes.
Yeah. And then Captain Kangaroo, he dusted off his camera and he made it all the way to NYC. They would he had no tin can with him, no pretzels. I think he was riding completely solo. I didn't see him, but it seemed like he was in the photo ops. And in typical Kangaroo fashion, he had some sort of a bad experience at the Ronda Rousey booth. It sounded like, I don't know, he thought he was on the line, and they didn't make it clear he wasn't until they did, and like in haphazard fashion. And he was booted from the line, but he had already purchased the book, and I don't know. I actually would kind of like to see a Kangaroo Little Rat joint report. I'd like to see them both take on the brewery.
Yeah, but all's well that ends well. I believe he ended up spending his money elsewhere and seeming to have a good time at the show.
Yeah. So I guess all in all, before we jump out of the NYCC bubble, did you come out of this weekend feeling enriched about the hobby? Do you feel fulfilled? Was it worth it? What was your takeaway?
No. I look at how much I spent, and I look at what I got. And I had a decent time, but it's a lot of cattle call stuff, which is like whatever. It was not. I don't know, man. I'm in a lull period. It's very clear I'm in a lull period right now. I don't know what it's gonna take to bump me to that next tier. I guess what kind of event, what kind of opportunity is going to take to bump me to the next tier? I don't know. Because right now I feel like even the great guests, the wow guests, like Sigourney Weaver type. So it didn't really I don't know. The Fishburne was cool. I'm not going to lie. That was cool. But, overall, I think 3-4 years ago, I would have been much, much more sort of excited about McAvoy. It was only all right. And I don't know if that's me. I don't know if it's the costs. I don't know if it's jamming everything into one day. I don't know if, honestly, it's walking. I walked the show floor, and this is a true. I mean, I don't know. I can tell you this with 100% certainty. I walked the show floor, and I was not a little tempted to pull my wallet out of my pants and open it for anything. And this was a show where historically I've always spent a lot of money. On the show floor, even. It seemed like it was the same vendors shoveling the same stuff at a 50% markup from a couple of years ago, or 100% markup from a couple of years ago. And it's like, I don't know. That's where I am.
Not to do a deep dive into your psyche, but I think part of it is probably the lack of autographs. You were always about creating these works of art that were the best pieces around. And now you're not really buying stuff. So there really weren't many autographs to get. And yeah, I mean, you've lost your smile, I guess. For me, I could probably do without 3 days, but I mean, if needs necessitated, I'll do that again. The week I had with the street meeting, I absolutely love. I always every year or so, I go out and do a little bit, and I look forward to it. And don't get me wrong, I look forward to next week and not doing it, so I can just sort of come home from work and relax, and it's nice. But I love that week. NYCC. I made the argument before we even started where the Nicholas Hoult cancellation for me, I don't know if this is the greatest con lineup of all time. I've been screaming that from the every rooftop I could find since the lineup was finalized. And I don't know. I came away a lot more optimistic than you. I enjoyed my weekend. I'm happy with what I got. But was this really the greatest lineup I've ever seen? As someone who didn't get Weaver, I don't know. I didn't get Brendan Fraser. If I got both of those like you did on top of everyone else, I suppose it would be. But on my end, Holt was a pretty big loss. So I don't know if it's the greatest, but I'm definitely satisfied with my weekend. Do you think your lull will keep you from buying your ticket next time for NYCC?
Well, no, especially since we get the 4-day pro badge at a significant discount. I mean, it's a very low risk proposition to buy it, right?
Yeah.
So I don't really feel like I'm not gonna buy it, but I certainly am just not terribly enthusiastic, and that's where I am. I just don't think it was a especially the show floor, it lacks a wow factor when you go in and every little stupid thing has a gigantic line attached to it. And they're not even good attractions. I don't mind wasting an hour in a line if it's going to be a really good attraction. But then it's a terrible attraction. And you waste time in line and think, what did I just waste my time for? For nothing. A lot of the things are like that. The giveaways are not as good as they used to be. The lines are longer. The bathroom lines are long. The men's room has lines. What kind of a world are we living in here? They clearly pack that joint out to the absolute max, which is fine. But then you have to deliver a special experience, and I just don't feel like I'm getting a special experience, at least not for the amount that I'm paying. So, that's
I hear you. I don't know. Maybe for me, I never really had a special experience from the floor. I actually made a purchase this year that I don't ordinarily do. So I spent money on the floor. And I was also proud of myself where I found a shortcut to the 4,000 section of the floor by coming out of the autographs and then sort of veering left towards those giant escalators to get up to the panel areas. I never went to that part of the floor in all my years there. I always would come out of the autographs and go right back towards the metal detectors and enter the floor from down there. But now I found a way to get to the 4,000s conveniently, and there's a lot less crowd. So that made the floor experience just feel better because I wasn't fighting through all that. But I'm with you. The line for the bathroom, that's like a little microcosm for everything. That there's nothing that's quick. I will say, though, the water filter was actually moving a little better than some years. I was able to fill my bottle in under an hour. So that was good.
Not too bad. So what's coming up for us? Reese Witherspoon's supposed to be today, but we still have not gotten an email, and I'm getting a little bit annoyed, quite frankly. But we touched on that already, and we will surely report back on this on the group, and then we'll talk about it next week for sure. We're also in for Chill Out. Have you decided what's going on with Chiller?
The only way this can work, I don't want to do two. So I think we got to do Saturday. We got to do both as best we can. And if getting everything is not possible, well, that's probably a win for my bank account.
And then Rhode Island Comic Con will be there as well, along with Oaks and Big Event. So that's our lineup. It really hasn't changed at all. And that's that. So if you're shopping for autographs, check out www.markedoutcollectibles.com or our eBay store at Marked Out Collectibles to contact us for any reason. Once again, email markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com or join and participate in the Marked Out autograph collecting community on Facebook. We're still selling our pre-orders for Swerve Strickland and Goldberg for Big Event, exclusive metallics. These are only available now. They will not be, no inventory will be run. So if you want them, order them. The cutoff for that is very soon. And we're also going to post, I believe this week, we have them for sure.
Yes.
Our Jackson, Brad, and Ricky pre-orders, you can pre-order your tickets, obviously. But if you want to do mail-in on those boys because you can't make the show, please do that. Understand that. So we didn't talk about this, and we're not going to get too much into it, but a huge round of cuts, went through the WWE ID program this week. And a lot of people who were ID'd are no longer ID'd, and our boys are still in the program. And we have pretty good word that the reason for that is that a signing with WWE, a real contract, is imminent. And so this is really your last opportunity to get them from us, most likely.
Yeah, this is we're not going to be able to bring them out anymore after this, I do not think. And I mean, our business model of late has been basically bringing these three future stars around, and with them signing, I mean, I'm not guaranteeing you're going to see a Marked Out Collectibles table at the next big event, because I mean, I don't even know what the next year is going to look like. So if you want to see Sean collecting cash, I mean, this is your time to do it.
Yeah, me running around like a nut with my Liger purse collecting cash. That's what I do. And so yeah, I think that's pretty much all we got. Another New York Comic Con in the books. Will we be there again next year? Probably. That's how it goes. I sometimes wonder, how long I have for shows like this, especially 4-day. I'm very tired today. I'm very tired. It was a lot.
I mean, the reality is you did 3 like I did. I think the future is you just, you got to settle on one day, maybe 2, and that's what you do. I think your days of doing 4 is probably over because I think you would have had a full-on meltdown had you done 4.
No, I agree.
But yeah, I will be there next year without question.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's a given. I always say one thing and then, it ends up happening the way it happens. So, I think that's it for us because we got to start getting ready for what's coming next today. So, that's it. So, are you ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right. So for markedout.com, Marked Out Collectibles, and Marked Out Radio, I'm Sean.
And I'm Dana.
And we will see you next week, hopefully with a good story about Reese Witherspoon, but we'll give you short.